I'm still kind of confused about this because it talks about a physical security assessment, which I think Respect certainly knows about this, but then they're going to be testing IP addresses and
Okay, that's
so they're not a computer company, they're an engineering company, but yet they're going to be testing for IPs, and they said they're going to be scouring the internet. What kind of track record have they had to do this in the past with other companies?
and that's what in the next meeting I'll talk to you about. Initially, the grant had a cybersecurity component to it, and so we put in for both a physical security inspection, which included the SCADA systems, and we put in for the cybersecurity aspect. The state said there's a separate program for cybersecurity, and so we peeled that off. And so the assessment or this initial sort of quote from Respect includes that cybersecurity, but they're not going to be doing any cybersecurity assessments. They're going to be doing the external vulnerability tests, the SCADA assessments, and some of the internal vulnerability tests. Or I'm sorry, they're going to be doing the physical security. If you look on this on page 6, there's a list of 4 pricing. The third one says SCADA security review for $6,000 and the physical security assessment for $25,000. The first 2 involve cybersecurity, and that's the other grant that we got. So if you the Respect in the Respect documentation, it's listed as page 5. But those were the 4 things that they said, hey, we can do those things for you. But we've gone back and said, well, no, we only need the bottom 2, the SCADA review of our utility system, and then the physical security review of the city, the entire city. And that was consistent with what the grant award was. So again, what you're seeing is more of a quote document that they provided to provide us information on this is what this would look like. And we based some of our planning on some of these things, but then we took this and we went to the state and we used some of this information to apply for the grant. But I included this because it was from Respect, because that is the company that we are recommending going with.
Right, because their paper is dated November 22nd, 2022. So that sounds like it's old data.
I have to look at, well, the pricing hasn't changed, but I'd have to look at when we actually put in for the grant, because these grants for 2022, this may have been aligned for when we put in the paperwork for the grant. So, but the pricing has not changed. And we do still have some room, because again, the grant level is a little bit higher than what we were quoted. So.
We are at the 7 o'clock.
We're after the 7 o'clock moment. So yes, I know you've got a question.
Can we take a 2-minute?
Let's take 3. Let's take 3. The time now is 7:04. Let's be back at 7:07.
I apologize to everybody in chambers for my language. Sorry.
You can say the prayer tonight and you'll be forgiven. He's going to do the invocation.
Well, I found this picture. Let me see if it'll open. I think that it's this tree right here. I was like, I'm going to save that for the council meeting. There's a good visual.
That's not enough. And we probably got the short and stubby one there.
It's his word against yours.
Pretty exciting, yes. Oh my, look at that wind out there.
How was that council?
The mayor canceled the combined heat and power to,
I don't have a definitive answer on that yet. I need to advertise if they're doing it. Combined heat and power.
I,
It's changed, so I don't know.
I understood that he had canceled it, but
Well, he canceled it and then at the staff meeting, he said it's not canceled, but I don't have any, Emily has zero information on any.
questions of the mayor. What's happening Thursday? Who's invited?
Yeah, sent email to the other committee members. Sorry, shocking. Probably be.
Open that water?
Flowers bring flowers.
Is it raining? Nice.
Seal my driveway, but you can't do it now. Gotta wait.
There you go.
Probably a shim for when they put the glass in here to hold it up steady, I think. Yes.
It's gonna be my fidget toy tonight. I wore through in last meeting. This might last.
I'm just waiting on Anton.
Never fly.
Well, it sounds like rain. Yeah, no hail though.
There you go. Get in that Snickers, don't get hangry.
What are you eating there, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, you tried to use my mic.
Oh. There you go, Anton. All right. Anton's here. Have no fear. Oh, butter. We'll call to order the City of North Pole regular council meeting of June the 3rd, 2024 in our City Hall chambers and on our YouTube channel. And the time is 7:08. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Jacobson?
Here.
Mr. Church?
Here.
Mr. Skips? Ms. Clack?
Here.
Mr. Keller?
Here.
And Mayor Welch.
I'm here. Everyone's in place. If we'll please stand, and the clerk will lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for the invocation led by Mr. Turk.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Bow your head, if you please.
Thank you, Lord, for bringing us all together this evening. Thank you for looking after us, our family, our citizens. Help us and guide us to make good decisions tonight that make sense for our community and to protect the citizens that we serve. I'd also like to keep in special prayer Chief Dutra's mother and the Dutra family for her passing this morning. If we can have a moment of silence for that. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. Let's go to item 4. It's an action item, the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion to approve by Jacobs, seconded by Williams.
Move to amend the agenda
State your amendment.
to consent item D of new business, the liquor license renewal for Oak and Keg Package Store, license number 778, located at 301 North Santa Claus Lane in North Pole, Alaska.
I'll second that.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, would you call that?
Okay, on the agenda as amended, Mr. Turch,
Yes.
Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mayor Welch,
Yes.
Ning, Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Turch,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mayor Welch.
Yes. Does anyone wish to change their vote? I'm looking, I see none. Thank you. That has passed. I now ask for an action item, item 5, approval of the minutes for the May 20th, 2024 council meeting, which I won't have a thing on it because I could barely hear it when I was down in Anchorage. It was technical difficulties.
Move to approve the minutes from May 20th, 2024 council meeting.
Second.
Motion by Turch, who seconded that?
Keller.
Keller, okay. Any discussion on those minutes? Call it. Madam
Okay,
Clerk.
on the minutes from the May 20th meeting, Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Turch,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Welch.
Yes. 7-0, no one changed their vote, so it's 7-0, it's unanimous. Congratulations, Madam Clerk, you have minutes. Let's go to communications from the mayor. Item A, Polaris tree presentation. Mr. Jomo Stewart is here from FEDCO, the Fairbanks Economic Development Committee. Please, Jomo, come forward.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for having me. Yes, so my name is Jomo Stewart. I'm the president of the Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation. I do have something, a little gift for you, but if you don't mind, since I'm here, I'll give you just a really quick rundown of some of the stuff we've been up to since the last time I saw you here at the council. So I just want to let you know that the Young Professionals Half-Day Professional Development Summit went off without a hitch. That was in April. We finished our spring cohort of the Alaska Business Accelerator. It's an accelerated, essentially a starting a business 101 that we've been doing for several years now. And so that was successfully completed in May. I did engage on the Eielson school closure issue and the school funding issue. And that actually got me to come out and do my first tour of North Pole High School. I actually got to go inside, and I will tell you that in particular, you have an excellent shop. Your VoTech apparatus there is just top flight. Let's see, moving on into the summer, we had our first Chef at the Market there at the Farmers Market in Fairbanks, mid-May. We are working on the Ag Director, which does capture farms here in the North Pole area. That's almost completed. We'll have that out soon. On the forestry front, my staff did attend UAF's test run of the lumber grading program. If you recall, the legislature did authorize that this spring. That hopefully will help a little bit if we get another commodities crunch. Like we did coming out of COVID. I'm sitting on the North Pole Economic Development Commission. And so thank you very much for that. Been attending those. We did participate and help the borough with the SEDS update recently, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. Let's see, we have been performing an economic analysis for the community. I actually have received the first draft. We're working with the contractor, and we should have that done within the next week or two, and public presentations to follow. I'll be back to let you know the results. Finally, let's see, I guess not quite finally, we are working through the process to take pull off this year's Alaska Defense Forum. Which will be at the end of August. And then finally, yes, I personally, this isn't really a Fairbanks economic development item, but I had a little bit of an adventure. As you probably saw in the newspapers, they're demolishing the Polaris building, and yet some trees managed to find root in a roof. And so I talked Mayor Pruse into letting us go up and get some of those trees. We got to plant one in the yard of the City Hall in Fairbanks for Arbor Day. But, you know, North Pole also signed that Arbor Day resolution. And so I wanted to go ahead and present you your tree.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And such a nice tree it is. So we will take note that this was put in here on June the 3rd of 2024. So it's the youngest thing in the city now. All right. Thank you, Jomo.
Very well.
Any questions for Mr. Jomo Stewart? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jomo.
Thank you.
I will say that seems like it was a long time ago because it was such a long time down there. I was at the Governor Sustainability Conference at the Denina Center. I got down there on the 20th of May and did a lot of intensive networking while I was there. There were, of course, workshops that I attended, but more important were the networking I did. I think the most important was with Travis Million, the new chairman of Golden Valley Electric. He came to us out of Copper River. He had an EE and he was very well poised to take over Golden Valley Electric. And he will have a representative here on Thursday night on June the 6th when we uncover what we're going to try to do with combined heat and power. So I was very happy that we got buy-in from him, and it's an integral part of what Golden Valley is going to need for their future. And I was happy to meet with him. I met with Dennis McCullough of an organization called GAME, and he'll be to see me and Mr. Danny Wallace somewhere at the end of June. Exactly when, I'm not sure. GAME is the Great American Mineral Exploration, Inc., and they're proposing to put in a small rail around Pogo Mine to move materials up to Fort Knox. So he'll be here at the end of June, and as soon as I know about it, if you want to, I'll welcome you to the office to have a discussion with him. I think that's going to be a really good thing. And I met with different activists that have to deal with the environment. And so there'll be more about that coming soon. And with that, I don't really have anything more to state about how that trip was. It was a long, tiresome trip. But I learned a lot and I brought things back to distribute to you on the council. The next portion here, item 7, is any council member questions of the mayor? Item 7.
I got,
Yes.
just if I heard you correctly, there's talk about having a rail from Pogo Mine to,
Around the Pogo Mine area, around,
so somewhere in that vicinity.
yeah, mhm.
To Ken Ross.
Maybe to Ken Ross. I don't know the full import of it yet
Yeah.
because he didn't share everything with me. He's bringing it
That's-
here to share with us.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when we do have it, you'll all get a copy of it, but you'll also be welcome. I know it's something around the 29th of June is all I know. But the exact date and time, as soon as I know, I'll let you know.
Mayor, I have a
Sure.
question.
Sure.
I'm somewhat confused about what's happening this Thursday because
Thursday on the 6th of June at 6 PM, we're going to have the principal groups that are going to be partners. And so we have a slideshow, combined heat and power. So Golden Valley will be here. People from, Mento Development Corps will be here. People that have been part of the combined heat and power since 2018 that were the original engineers, just a few of them left, like there'll be Brent Sheets, Randy Hobbs, just to name 2 of those. And they'll all be here to explore, like on a white sheet, where we're going to go with this. The city of North Pole is not going to take a leadership role. We're not going to go into debt. That's for darn sure. We're not going to finance it. It's going to private equity. the private equity more than likely will be Minto Development Corp. And that was something Department of Energy, his name was Jacobson, Joseph Jacobson. He recommended to go to a unit like that. So I thought of who was the closest in vicinity to us, Minto Development Corp. So their CEO is Doug Isaacson. Y'all remember him as a former mayor. And so they also have their COO is Matthew Fagnani, who used to work on the governor's economic development team. So those two will be here. I somehow wonder if Mr. Isaacson will be here live though, because I don't think he gets back into the state until the 15th. But I know Fagnani will join us. So that's how much as I know at this time. And
So I don't know anything about this one. And so is it, are you going to be using the audio system? Because I don't have any paperwork or anything. I need to advertise this.
I think our voices will carry by themselves, but. are you
But we
talking
have-
audio, excuse me.
We have posting requirements.
Yeah, our-
And so this has been canceled and then not canceled. And so
No,
now,
I never canceled. I said if we could not get the principals, which were the people from 2018, to tell us what their checklist was. If they couldn't do that in a timely way, there's no reason to, have everybody come here and assemble. So then they finally got that to us right before I went out the door to go to the governor's conference.
There-
At the 11th hour.
there's a lot of confusion about this
Yeah.
meeting and the audio system's Emily, the audio system's not Danny.
Yeah.
So if the audio system needs,
Has nothing to do with Danny. Danny, all he did was put together a slideshow for us because two people that are from the past, 2018, never brought the checklist. Somewhere when I was absent in February, Misters Jacobson and Miss Clack had a meeting with Mr. Brent Sheets and with Hobbs and with Danny Wallace. And I wasn't privy to that. Apparently somewhere in that meeting, did they offer you guys a checklist?
Yes.
Yes, so now we have the checklist. And it was something that, his name is Joseph Jacobson from Department of Energy. It's his checklist. So we finally got it nailed in. That's how we go forward with that. So
So
it's it's no money being spent. It's just, this is where we're at, and it gives Minto Development Corp an idea of if they want to invest in it, what they would have to invest. And that is to bring a combined heat and power that would be energized through natural gas.
So since Ms. Clark and myself asked for this checklist, neither one of us has seen it.
Well, it's available. I don't know,
I have zero information on combined heat and power.
so, I know the checklist was delivered to, I don't know. So did he not print out a copy or send you a copy?
I have no information on combined heat and power.
So so I saw the checklist. Danny, now that you're back in here, have you distributed the checklist that Mr. Brent Sheets finally gave us for the combined heat power?
I have zero information on combined heat and power, so I'm not, first of all, we need to advertise for the meeting if it's going to happen. We need to put out what's going to be presented at the meeting. We don't just have like willy-nilly have a meeting and not notify people. We have to share information with the public. And I have no information on combined heat and power.
The presentation you have on your desktop, where did that go to, sir?
That's
Brent Sheets. That's part of the issue here is that we have people that don't work for the city that had that obligation. They made that commitment. They made that promise. It's an IOU. They made it to Mr. Jacobson and Ms. Clack, and he finally brought it to us on a Friday, whatever date that was in May, before I took off to go to the governor's sustainability conference. He finally brought it to us.
With an apology.
Hello?
Do you have something to add, Chandra?
Yes, the gentleman brought it to us with an apology that he had not checked his email since February. And so that's why we end up getting it. A day before the mayor was supposed to meet with him. The mayor said that he stayed up most of the night to review the checklist. The checklist was presented then. To my recollection, Danny said that he didn't remember the conversation, that there was a checklist until the mayor had presented seeing that checklist then. And so that's when they were able to sit and talk about the checklist.
Because without the checklist, until this
We couldn't do
Jacob-
anything.
excuse me, till Joseph Jacobson could come to me from Charlotte, North Carolina airport,
that?
where he was stranded. I didn't even know
I
who
need,
the
I
author
need
of
to
the
do it like
checklist
tonight
was.
or tomorrow.
Say again?
I just need to know if I'm going to advertise for this meeting. And is there going to be some kind of content that I
Danny,
can post?
Danny, post the content that we have for it. Yeah.
I think that people need to understand that we need to notice if the meeting is going to happen. And I have absolutely no information to share with citizens.
Question is, and I'm going to ask this open, do we have citizens come to that? If it's about private equity making a decision if they want to go into sponsoring a combined heat power. That's what I don't
It's
know.
not an executive session,
It's
so
not-
it's a
it's not
public
executive.
meeting.
Yeah,
So either way, we have to post it.
yeah, so post.
So I guess the question is, what details do we need to make sure that our Miss Clerk has to post this by midnight tonight?
Is everybody going to be attending the meeting? Is that like, it is going to be a work session? Is that?
I consider it to be a work session. And Madam Clerk, would you please, for those of us who are here, excuse me, please. Madam Clerk, what did you come up with the conclusion about the idea of work session versus workshop? What did you find in our,
There's not a workshop in code, there's work session in code. It's a $50 stipend per work session.
that's what it's called. It doesn't say anything about, we couldn't find it anywhere.
Right.
It's usually if
That
when
was, that
when there's
was,
a budget meeting, we do dinner and there's,
right.
this is what's going to be presented and we notify the public about everything.
And that's what I brought up at the staff meeting, that there's a difference between workshop and work session.
Mhm.
And that a work session has to be publicly noticed because it's a Public Meetings Act requires that if 3 or more members are present at a meeting, public meeting, we have to advertise it. But at that same meeting, Mr. Mayor, you did say that it was, there was no meeting on the 6th. And so that's what I've been thinking for the last 2 weeks, and I've made travel plans to be gone this Thursday.
So what I said is, we don't get the checklist, there would be no meeting. And we did get the checklist because,
But the checklist isn't the issue. The clerk knows absolutely nothing about,
Madam Clerk, I apologize, that's
well,
the best I could do. Thank you very much.
so is the meeting going to happen?
Yes, it's going to
Okay.
happen because Golden Valley wants to be here. The folks from Minto Corporation want to be here. They're the private equity partner that want to be here to see if it's worth their while to invest in it.
I just want to,
Yeah.
for the record,
Yeah.
this clerk doesn't like the way that this meeting is being handled. And it's the clerk's role. And I don't know what Danny's role in this is, but I will be handling the audio system. So
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And it's not that long a presentation. It's more of a question and answer thing for those. Yeah, that's why we need to close the door, please. Thank you, Larry. Just close the door.
Sorry about that.
That's part of the issue there, is that we have people that are not part of our city government that want this to happen. Okay, thank you.
well, if they're going to have a meeting in our council chambers, I would think that we would know what we were presenting. And I'm uncomfortable with not having anything to present
We do
to the
have-
citizens.
We do. So Danny will get it to you. for-
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you, folks. With that, council member questions of the mayor, unless there are any more, we'll call that
Yes, yes. Hello?
Yeah. Hello?
Yes, the question I had for you, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
is Danny presenting the same PowerPoint? Or is there new added information to what you will be presenting on the 6th?
Go ahead, Danny. Danny will answer to that, please. Thank you for asking, Ms. Clack.
Hi, Ms. Clack. Hey, this is Danny. There's tweaks to that, but the gist of the overall presentation, it's been updated because the presentation was a few months old, but it's been updated. But it is very similar to the presentation or the content that both you and Mr. Jacobson saw when we met with Brent Sheets and Randy Hobbs. It's very similar to that. They've just updated some of the numbers on there. And I can
Okay.
send that to the clerk. And I can send it to the council, Mayor, if you'd like me
I
to send
think
it.
you should.
Okay,
you know.
I will do that.
I wasn't available in February. I didn't come back till April 4th, so I'm not apparent. It's not apparent to me what y'all discussed back in February. It wasn't there.
So this meeting on Thursday is for the benefit of the people who will be signing on to do this project so they could talk. And our role as the council is to listen to them talk about if they want to do it or not.
Because there is a possibility that we'll be a limited liability partner, because if we do have a combined heat and power, we would like it to go into all of our buildings. We would like it to go into the police, fire, this building, any building, public works, utility. Our number one user of energy is our water treatment plant. Number two is the wastewater treatment plant. That would take us off of oil. That would be a big thing. The IGUs, who I'm trying to think of, the IGUs should have a representative here because they will provide the natural gas that goes in the generator.
Okay.
That's a big thing. That's what I was.
And question to that
Yes.
is, with that being said, what funding will be used to help us be able to generate that to all of our utilities?
What would be generated? I didn't hear exactly what you said.
You were saying that by doing so, we would be generating combined heat and power to all our utility office buildings and what we're in City Hall. So the question to you is, at what point or what funding will be used to help us get that funding or that energy ciphered out to all these individuals?
Ms. Clack, I'm sorry to say, I'm trying, but I can't understand what you're saying. I think Mr. Danny Wallace can. Go ahead, Danny. Danny's going to try to answer you. It's kind of garbled over here.
Hi, Ms. Clack. I understand you. Again, you're asking about the funding stream for the project. Is that correct? As far as what
I
would?
am. That is correct.
Okay. So I think that the intent in getting the stakeholders together is to start that discussion on funding. I don't think there's any identified funding at this time, but as Mayor Welch mentioned, we've had some external interest. Minto Corporation has actually decided to attend, and we've got some other the key stakeholders. So really, I think this is an open discussion between the stakeholders for this project, because that is, you identified, Ms. Clack, that is the key issue. Is this will not happen unless there is a funding stream identified, and it definitely will not come from the city.
Not come from the city.
Okay.
And to elaborate just a little further, if this makes sense, we already spend funds to put oil to heat our water, because we have to heat our water to send it around the city, and we have to heat our wastewater to send it around the city. So instead of spending what we are for heating oil, which is quite expensive, we would do it with the free heat. I call it free heat, the waste heat. I don't like saying waste heat, but the byproduct of the energy generation provides us with hot water. So with that, the school district, if it wanted to, could heat its schools. It could heat the library. It could heat the Westcott pool if it wanted to. But I'm sure that what we will do is we will heat our own buildings, and we will heat our water treatment and wastewater treatment plant, which would be a significant cost less than what we're paying for oil right now. Other questions? Seeing none. That is now closed. Madam Clerk, I know you told me, but are there now any citizens' comments?
I do not have any citizens for comments unless Ms. Welch wanted to take the floor. No. Okay.
So citizens' comments are now closed. Communications from department heads. Ms. Fogarty, would you go first for us, please?
Since our last meeting, we were at a conference and wasn't able to attend the meeting. It was a 4-hour time difference. I started to listen to it, but quickly fell asleep. So, and since that time, we've been working with the auditors a lot of times, kind of in the airport, on a meeting with them, and anytime we can get into it. So we had 2 meetings with them to say it today, and they're projecting a draft by next week. So we'll see how that goes, but we're getting down to reporting time. So.
And Ms. Fogarty, I can mention a kudo that you and Michelle and y'all being in Indianapolis still had to process payroll.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I was able to come in and do what I could do before I got on the jet and went out of here. So it's sort of a struggle, isn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Big
We
struggle.
had to, thanks to Emily, we were able to load everything up on a shared file. She could print everything out, put it together, have it reviewed by, I believe, Benny, and Emily reviewed the payroll, and we were able to transmit to the bank by Wednesday. So,
Just so y'all would be aware that the employees didn't miss a beat, did they?
no, payroll's top priority.
Yep.
We don't want 50 plus people mad at us. So
No.
make sure that is absolutely done.
Any questions for Ms. Fogarty? Yes, Mr. Church.
On the audit, how is that going? Are we running into any struggles with the new auditor? Where are the major hangups and how can we improve that? I know we'll have a review, but
Right.
just before we get into it, we're already halfway through the year. It would be nice to be able to curb any issues looking forward from next year's audit by dealing with that now. Are we having any problems?
Well, I don't know that we're having any problems. It's a new auditor and they don't know our history. So they're going back quite a ways to understand how certain things are handled. One of the things was the outfall project. It was for many years ago, I believe 2018. And we had to go back and find where that went through council and the ordinances and the minutes. And so they're combing through quite a bit of things. There was some discrepancies between the last audit and some of our figures now. We've worked through that due to a conversion issue. We were on there with her today, this afternoon at 4:00, and she gave us a couple of spreadsheets and some thoughts. So I wouldn't say it's bad. They're just trying to understand what and why and how we handled things. So they are looking at purchasing, and that could potentially be an issue in the future if we don't tighten up how we're handling things right now. Basically, we need to file our own code.
Right. And thank you for that. And if there is problems with that, please feel free to send out an email to council and let us know what's going on with that so that we can keep informed in that. That's kind of a big deal, that one there.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
There.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Chief Heineken mentioned that the grant for the Medicare reimbursement has been extended. So will the audit be done in time for that extension time period?
How far is it extended to? Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, not an issue.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, please, go ahead, Ms. Clack.
When you made mention that they were making reference to purchasing, and can you give some set examples?
Well, one of the examples is before you tonight where we had something passed by the council consent agenda, and it was close to our bid limit, competitive bid. At the point where we found out that the lights weren't measured correctly and it was going to be more, that would have been the point where it would come back to council. It should have come back to council. But we can't stick that back in the box. So we're making you aware of the situation and we'll go forward from here.
Okay. That's one example. Was there, how many do you recall that they mentioned?
Well, they haven't mentioned this particular one yet, but
Okay,
they have an uncanny ability to find out the one thing that we did wrong. They'll find it.
okay, yeah, okay.
It's
Thank you, Trish.
Auditor.
Yeah, that's what they do.
yeah, that's that's their job. So-
That's right. And we don't want nothing hidden from our public.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Fogarty. Chief Heineken, how about it, sir? You look raring to go.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of quick things tonight from the fire department. Want to make sure the public and everybody's aware that our annual hydrant testing is coming up, of course, this summer. We have an amazing water system in our city, and our hydrants are a critical part of our plan at the fire department, obviously. So our crews will be out starting June 10th, and we'll have them finished up testing by the 21st, usually well before that, but we give a good 2-week period. So just a reminder that you'll see our staff out there usually during daytime hours, Monday through Friday is when we try to do it. If we have to do it on weekends, it's because of delays. But you'll see them out and about flowing water. They have to flow a significant amount of water out of each hydrant to do the testing. And they direct that water often into the streets in places where the water won't do damage. But be aware they'll be out there. Be careful as you're driving around the city because they are along the roadsides doing those testings. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can absolutely get a hold of me anytime. The only other thing I really have to report tonight is the summer's pressing on, the weather's changing. We had a pretty good hot, warm weekend. And we're getting more into that fire danger type of weather season, thunderstorms types of season. So, as we all know, the wildland fire situation in the interior of Alaska can get extreme pretty quick. So this is just a reminder to put out there that, natural fires by thunderstorms happen, but we can avoid the ones that are human caused. So we do have burn permit program in place in this state that is ran through the Division of Forestry, and a reminder that to do any type of burning requires a burn permit during this time of year. Burn permits are easy to get. You can get them online through Alaska State Forestry's website, print them off right online, sign them right there. And then there's a number to contact each and every time before you light a burn, and they'll let you know whether burning is allowed during that day. If you have any questions about burning or concerns, that's something you can also get a hold of the fire department. We can help you, direct you there. And that's all I had this evening. I can take any questions.
Sure. Questions for the? Yes, sir, Mr. Kelly.
So I saw a news article concerning a kid that was hit on Badger, and it referenced our fire department medical extra respond. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct. From my knowledge, I wasn't there. I wasn't present at the scene, but from what I understand, yes, we were to that accident.
You could follow up with those medical officers that were there, just make sure they're okay.
Yep, definitely. Yep. Yeah, that's something we've already actually addressed. So
I kind of figured
Yep.
that you would, especially there. For those of you who don't know, it was a 6-year-old, correct?
I believe so. I haven't looked at the
Okay.
run report. I don't have any in-depth knowledge other than our crew was on the call.
I just hits home. So thank you, Chief.
Any other questions for the chief? Chief, thank you for your report. So, Mr. Danny, you're up from the Public Works and from our utility, please, sir.
Everyone. I'll cover special topics and then the 3 departments. We continue with our grant efforts and plan to submit one in support of on helping submit one in support of the fire station building this month to the DSIP program as Chief has mentioned previously. We've got a series of meetings this week on grant administration to include Zoom or Teams meetings on the congressionally directed funding, HUD grant for Brookside Utilities, the Protect grant for stormwater flooding, and an informal discussion with Fairbanks North Star Borough on grant management. For Public Works, good news for our commercial drivers license training. All three individuals, Mr. Malatek, Mr. Combs, both from PW, and Mr. Skips from Utilities, passed the course and now have CDLA licenses. This allows for those folks to operate dump trucks and haul generators, which is especially hauling generators is a big deal, certainly if you have power outages at lift stations during the winter. And for both departments, this is a very good thing. We have onboarded all Public Works summer hires, and you can see from some of the beginning of the beautification efforts that they are working. These individuals will be with us through the end of the summer, and we appreciate the support from the council for this extra help. We do definitely appreciate that. As we've discussed, the candy cane lights are painted and the project is almost complete, but still going through final electrical checks to ensure they all work. DOT also contacted us about their downtown streetlight project. So the second streetlight project, which was slated to be done last year, but they are doing final checks, and they should be finished with the lights and ensure that they're operational sometime this month. So they'll do their final checks on the downtown streetlight replacement, and we'll make sure that those appropriate closeout actions occur both for the candy cane and the DOT lights. For the building department, we continue to see individual home permits for building throughout the city as expected this time of year. Certainly Three Bears remains a big deal. Everyone's watching the Three Bears site, and we've been on site. Our inspectors, both on the structural and the civil side, which is NSE, Alaska, and for Stantec, who are working on the water utility side, both of those sides are being inspected appropriately, and certainly this is a very big project. I did get a call from someone today saying, why isn't there an RV dump station at North Pole? I did remind him that Chino Lakes has one that's accessible and that possibly in the future that Three Bears would have a RV dump station. Probably not this year, but next year. But they did mention that that was a need for the city, for many citizens, that they were looking for that. But we did get that call today. For utilities, we continue to move forward with the utilities project to include the Three Bears site, the water line movement on the milepost 351, the outfall project, the wastewater treatment plant, for the wastewater treatment plant, the standards update, and the water main planning and design project. I mentioned this last meeting, but the middle school mural on the old water treatment plant is now fully complete. And it is pretty nice when you go look at it. Again, you have to realize that it's done by middle school folks, but it is something that kind of adds to the area. Finally, I did want to mention that Chief Heineken mentioned hydrant testing in the city utilities bills this month. We're going to have a notice that goes out to everyone about hydrant testing, about potential cloudy water, or again, the sediment in the water gets stirred up by that. The water, if there's sediment in the water, it is still, and if the water is cloudy, it's still safe to drink. It just doesn't look very good. But we are alerting everyone who's on it in our billing in our billing list that is going to be going on starting on June 10th. So I'd be happy to answer any questions from the council.
I would just like to make a comment that I was very happy to see after I had ordered the flags from CRW in Glen Burnie, Maryland, that the flags were properly displayed. We have new North Pole flags that are 3x5s, new American flags 3x5s up and down Fifth Avenue. But more than that had to be done. We had to take the Christmas banners and mend some of those. They look great. Everything's looking sharp. So it looks nice for this summer. So the stage is set for the 4th of July parade too. We always like it to look good for Memorial Day, which they met that deadline from Memorial Day to Labor Day. We're set. I don't know how many people were involved in that, especially with your guys off to commercial drivers training, but it all came together. So I say, tell your public works supervisor and your employees, they did a great job. Yes, sir.
We received an email from Eileen Brado regarding the flags at the park on Fifth Avenue. She said that she described them as in pitiful condition. So did we replace those flags, or is the borough going to do that?
I spoke to the borough, the borough folks out at Chino Lakes. They're the ones that manage that. And I talked to them about that. They said they were on top of it. We provided them a new North Pole flag for that. And that's really, we don't manage those flags because they're not ours, but we try to enable that as much as possible. And I haven't been by there today. I don't know if those flags have been replaced, but if you look at the Alaska flag, it's in a pretty bad shape. So
That's for them to maintain. Reason we give them a North Pole flag is they can't even order it. We can order the flags because they're trademarked. So Georgia is the lady's name at CRW Flags, and she will not just let anybody order North Pole flags. That's why it's.
we also received that same message, and our reaction to that was to call the folks that manage that site and
Great.
give them the flag.
Thank you.
So,
I have a question, Danny. Was there any kind of scuttlebutt or any kind of discussion about us buying property off a crossover? I got a call a few days ago by Miss Sharon Hunter, and we knew Sharon. She city council at one point. She thought that maybe we had wanted to buy her property. Do you know of anything about that?
I hadn't heard anything about
Does
that.
anybody know anything?
That's behind the
Sure.
fire
By the
department.
fire department. What do you got, chief?
Get by the mic so we can hear it. The only thing I do have is, a couple months ago that, Reverend Hunter had contacted us at the fire department asking if that was something we were interested in. Because it is adjoining to the fire department. I explained to him, the plan we had for the new fire station, and we already had that area, for that place. And I explained that maybe that would be something that if they wanted to bring to council, that maybe the council would have another use for that land, but the fire department specifically did not. So I think that's probably where that came
That
from.
might be, I'll just call Miss Hunter and tell her that then, okay? Yes, Mr. Turk.
Can I just respond to that?
Sure.
Where they're located in that location, do you think that if we were able to pick up that slice, that it would make response time to the other side of North Pole faster, since you wouldn't have to drive down Lewis, up Cross Parkway? You'd be able to turn, cut through your parking lot and get out for anything that happens on that end of town without having to run the sirens through North Pole?
Yeah, it would for responding, to the old Richardson side. It would definitely take, a matter of seconds off the response times. Nothing very significant, but it obviously would improve responses out that side of it.
Suppose you'd have to do a cost benefit analysis.
I mean, and that's the thing is the property is developed, it has a home on it. I would suspect value wise, they would probably want the value with the home. And I don't know if it would be worth the city to buy a property of that value to demolish the home.
Thank you.
Thank you, chief. More questions? And you got more to give us? Go ahead.
No.
No, you're finished. Any questions? now?
Questions?
All right, thank you, Danny. Appreciate that. And then we go to our Madam Clerk, what do you have for us, Madam?
I'm just gathering information to put for new council packets and the new mayor together. I'd like to have more education go into the new council member packets. Maggie's out this week. She's at professional development. And somehow on Friday, my keys walked off of my desk and disappeared. So if anybody finds a set of keys, I have a key fob, my auto start, and it's got 3 keys on the key ring. Anyways, if you run across them, think of me.
Sorry to hear that.
I do think I would like some kind of addressing the issue of security in the clerk's department, but it's one that I'm putting out there to consider in the future.
I believe there was a security breach. That might be a reason your keys are missing or not.
I looked at the audio, or I looked at the
Video?
camera, yeah, and there's nothing nefarious. There's nobody that didn't belong in City Hall was in City Hall. They just somehow managed to disappear.
Does your office not lock?
There is a lock, but it was during business hour. Yeah, no, this is just the public can come in. I thought maybe when I ate lunch, like maybe somebody snuck back here, but I watched the camera audio or camera footage and there was nobody back here. But they were there at 8:30 and not there when I tried to leave at 3:20. The police are looking at footage too. I'm just saying, if you run across a pair of keys, think of me and, don't hesitate to let me test it on my car.
Any questions of the clerk? Thank you. And we didn't have a borough rep, did we?
We do not from the, no.
No, because they had finance.
Mhm.
So that closes out item 9, and there are no ongoing projects report for 10? No. No unfinished business. We move into item 12. What's first, Madam Clerk?
We're at resolution number 2024 or 2024-05, a resolution supporting grant application for the City of North Pole Fire Station.
Thank you, Chief.
So yeah, I'll go over this briefly. Yeah, so in front of you is this resolution supporting applications for grant funding and other types of funding for our new fire station project. Danny Wallace has been helping greatly with seeking the current grant that we're looking for as a DSIP grant through the Department of Defense, that we're putting that application together now. And as we've spoke to in the past,
Yes, I want you, for those who don't know, tell them what a DSIP grant, what DSIP stands for. They might.
let me make sure I
know
get it
what-
right.
Oh.
Got it here somewhere. Defense Community Infrastructure Program
That's DSIP.
is the DSIP. And yeah, I might have Danny help with answering any of the questions. But we've put together this resolution that that lists myself and Danny Wallace as approved representatives to be able to seek out the funding sources for these type of grants. The current grant that we're in the process, having this resolution is part of the application process. So it would be put with that application currently. And TBEC is helping us with that grant, obviously. And once we have that grant completed, we'll be able to use a lot of the data that is compiled, because other grants, if they come up in the future for the same project, if this one's unsuccessful, would be able to use that information to help on other grants. So we're just asking that we approve the signature of this resolution. Take any questions?
Take time to ask questions for the chief.
So in a sense, we're gonna be our own grant writers, right? We don't have to worry about grant writers.
Can I address that?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Okay, possibly.
Okay,
It depends. Grant writing is an art, and there may be some grants that we may still come to the council and ask for help for. It'll be on a case-by-case basis. But as you said, this will provide the core of a packet. So if we do ask for grant help externally, we definitely will have a good base packet already together.
Excuse me.
But I would hesitate to say we will never ask for help again.
Okay.
So.
I definitely agree with that.
okay.
Yes, Mr. Church.
Thank you for putting this together. I think it's really going to help having the city stand behind you moving forward with grants. I would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the resolution 2024-05A, resolution supporting the grant application for the City of North Pole Fire Station.
I get second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Williams seconded. Any discussion?
Okay, we can call the roll on resolution 2405. Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Keller, and Mayor Welch.
Yes. Does anyone wish to change their vote? Thank you. The resolution is now passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Madam Clerk?
And that brings us to resolution 2024-06, a resolution of the North Pole City Council establishing the rate of tax levy for 2024 real property taxes in the city of North Pole. And, yeah, thank you,
Ms.
Trish.
Fogarty.
This is a requirement that the borough has. We used to be able to just submit the resolution for the budget, but I think it was in right when you came on, Mayor.
In 2019, that
They-
for
they
some reason
decided it.
The millage rate wasn't expressed in December,
Right.
and I won't go through it because
Me neither, but
I know you won't.
this is the resolution that covers us, gives them permission to collect the rate at this rate, and this is what we budgeted for. So,
The last chance that, the borough gets clarification what our millage rate is, and what is it going to be for them?
3.5.
3 point. So, I'm just gonna finish and say that we still don't know what evaluation of our land is.
We don't.
And that's mighty late in the game.
Normally, we have that information by now, and I talked to the borough about that because sometimes the letter goes to you, Mr. Mayor, and I
Oh,
thought maybe,
I never
maybe
saw it.
you had it and I don't have it,
I
but they
know.
said, no, it hasn't been sent out, that they
Hasn't
were
been
still
sent.
trying to pin that down.
Yeah.
So,
Now, Mr. Williams has a question.
Has the mill rate been any lower than 3.5?
yes,
For us?
Many times.
We can't go back to that, can we?
Not at this time. We've already passed the budget with the
Right.
3.5 tax rate.
Go back to it in the next year's budget, when you have your budget workshops in October, November. But, God knows what that'll come to, you know.
So basically, this is just telling them officially that this is what the mill rate is until further notice.
correct.
So we can't change the mill rate.
Nope.
Okay.
No,
All right. I move to approve this resolution 2024-06.
Mr. Keller made a motion to approve.
Second. Okay.
Skip seconded. Discussion, Madam Clerk, I don't think they're gonna discuss it anymore.
On resolution 2406, a resolution of the North Pole City Council establishing the rate of tax levy for 2024 real property taxes of the city of North Pole. Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson, and Mayor Welch.
Yes, does anyone want to change their vote? I didn't think so. Thank you. That has passed. What's next, Madam Clerk?
That brings us to the report to council, administrative budget amendment, streetlight maintenance, $50,500.
Ms. Fogarty, please help us with that.
okay, this is just a budget amendment to help pay for that street lighting project that we've done. This is within category. We're able to just, the finance department is able to do this on our own, and we need to report to the council. And at the bottom of the amendment, this is our first one this year. It just says, I will report to you within 30 days of making the amendment. But when I discovered all of this, I thought it was important to actually put it on the agenda and not just be in my comments. So we will make this movement budget wise, and when we are decided to pay the final bill, the budget will be there. I have enough money in the budget to pay for that bill.
We'll have enough to pay for it. Any questions for Ms. Fogarty? Seems clear cut to me. Thank you, Mr. Church. She has a question.
Where will the transfer come from? Street maintenance, from out of street maintenance into street light maintenance?
Right? I believe, did I put the original?
Put it in yellow.
Oh, okay, but the original budget was for street maintenance was 175,000. We're nowhere near that amount right now in June. This was suggested by Danny because he knows his budget. He knows that we were close to being over budget in the street maintenance as well. So he already had that information. After talking to him, it was very obvious that that would be the best place to pull. So what we'll do is lower the budget for street maintenance, increase the budget for street lights, and we'll be able to pay that bill within budget.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, Mr. Jacobs.
does the street maintenance line item cover snow removal?
No. That's a different line item.
And so street maintenance is sweeping, pothole patching?
Potholes.
The mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Skip.
So with the street maintenance, that's gonna include all the, those utility cuts, the repairs on the utility cuts going across the road where there's
Yes.
drops in a lot of places.
Now,
So when you do repair those, are you repairing? I'm thinking of the ones that's like right on your road. You know, it's
By
a
the
little,
hotel,
you know, it's a hole, I mean, it's a little hole,
the dip.
but it covers a big area where there's not a gradual depth. Are you gonna take everything out, fix the base and replace it, or just the worst of the worst?
unfortunately for a lot of those, they're bring it completely.
They have risen back up, so they're not as deep anymore.
Yeah.
You're right, you can see there was.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of pumping
It's
and,
not
yeah.
there today.
Yes, sir, Mr. Turk has a question.
So looking at the street maintenance versus the street light maintenance, so, and you said that you had overages in your snow removal. How much extra in your budget are we over that? You put too much of an extra emphasis in your budget that we could have saved taxpayers some of that mill rate. Are there other overages in your budget that we are not aware of that you might pull other monies from? And then,
I'll try to help answer that. When,
Go ahead.
when we're doing that, you know, the mayor makes the budget and he does it in collaboration with each of his department heads. And we look at the overall last 5, 6 years. So we kind of know that on any typical winter or whatever we're talking about, this is what it's going to cost. Something came out of the ordinary this year that we could not have anticipated. And I think Mr. Wallace can help explain it, that Phil gave us a real good discount that he has never done before. I think he did it for competitive reasons. I can't be sure. Did he not actually surprise us by coming up?
Yeah. $13,000 per. But as far as a relationship between mill rate and the public, I would honestly say that I rely sort of. Take a little bit.
I understand that. It just seems like over a 5-year period that you're estimating your budget on to have $50,000 come out for what should be proper road repairs and not Band-Aids. But we have beautiful candy cane light posts. Seems a little ridiculous. It really does, that we're so far over budget on this item that we have to rob from the streets that we all drive on so that we can look at pretty candy cane light posts. It's a little worrisome.
I could say more if you want me to. I think it's probably best I say less at this juncture. It's just that sometimes when you look at it, it's something you don't do but once every 15 years or 12 years, as the case was here. And so, and of course, with cost of labor, materials, and inflation, that you can't really go back. Like some things you can go back when you know you're having your streets swept or your snow removed every year, you could pretty much be very close to what that is. But when you're doing something that only occurs once every dozen or 15 years, it's really hard to focus in on that. So, yes.
So I'm going to make a comment on that because according to our contract, line item 6, it gave us the option for an additional 1-year painting of up to 17. So now we're going down to the root cause of the issue. A little bit more right there. So it gives permission for the city to reserve the option to renew this contract.
Excuse me, Madam Clerk, would you please expand that so my weak eyes can see what Councilman Keller's talking about? I would like to see what he's saying. I can't read it. It's too small.
Thank you, Trish.
Thank you.
Chris. Make it one more expansion. I probably can read it.
I don't know how to make it bigger than that.
Might be able to do hold control and hit plus,
Thank you, sir.
maybe.
What?
Hold control.
Pro
hold
plus.
control, And then hit plus. That might do it.
But you're in full screen mode, so that's tough.
Maybe not.
I'm looking at it now on paper in front of
Yeah,
me.
if you look on paper, it's 6.1. It says the city reserves the option to renew the contract. What's the definition of the city? Is that the city council that represents the city? Is that
It's
mayor?
no, it's us. It's the council.
Okay, so at that point, we had 120 days prior to, this is 6.2, 120 days prior to the contract anniversary date. The contractor may request in writing changes to the terms. As far as my knowledge, we never received anything 120 days before this anniversary in writing. So nothing came to the council for this. I think that's where some of our issue is number one, yes, 2023, they over budgeted. That's part of, cost of doing business, not measuring the polls yourself, not getting the correct bid out. Yes, we as a city or the ones that estimated that is an issue. Hopefully we have a record of how tall those are or how long the poles are now. But this is part of the issue is who signed for the additional 1-year agreement for the additional lights. And according to our addendum, it was you, Mayor. So
Wasn't here to sign it. I can tell you I didn't. So
But-
that might very well, but it could have been electronically done. I wasn't here. I know I
Uh,
wasn't here.
hold on. So if that's the case, Mayor, then we have a bigger issue of forgery.
Or-
Yeah,
no,
It
no.
was signed by the mayor. I
Yeah.
mean, just.
Okay,
It could
all
have
right.
been after the fact, you know.
So
July
Okay.
24th to August 28th, I wasn't in City Hall because
Okay.
I was in the.
So here's the point. That dollar amount's over 50 grand. That should have came to council for us to actually approve, discuss at least, discussing the difference between what we approved $48,000 the year before this came up. I'm okay with contractors coming in and say, hey, the bid is going to be off. Then we can discuss it and then we can plan accordingly. That should have came months ago. But now we're already footing a bill in 2024. The job's already been done and we're waiting for a wet signature. And we don't know where the money's going to come from. And that's why the decision's before us. We're putting the cart before the horse too many times. And it's going to bite us for a couple of reasons. Number one, we're not following code. And if we're following code, then we're actually fudging because anything over 50 grand should be coming before the council so we can actually discuss it. So that's my concern is the money's been spent by the contractor. The deed has been done. We're going to have to foot the bill. But from here on out, what is our course of action to make sure that this stuff does not happen? If a contractor comes in and does the job halfway and goes, the cost is done, or we're exceeding our budget, at what point do we say, okay, thank you for your business. Now we need to go for another bid?
I have a question and
Okay.
maybe Mr. Wallace can help us here. Not trying to pin the tail on the donkey, but did we have anybody else that could have done this job?
Well, yeah, and that was the issue from the beginning is we couldn't get anyone else to bid on the candy cane lights because it is a specialized and significant undertaking. So.
So I understand that, but at some point
It could have been not done, right?
that is an
Question.
option.
A question.
Excuse me.
I-
I'll recognize you in a second. We're hitting mosquitoes off each other. So what were you saying, Anton? You were stepped on.
No, so that's fine. That is the choice of the city council to whether or not we go forward with a program of repainting or we make the sacrifice of, you know what, we need to wait a year before it's budgeted, or we need to move money around so it's actually done properly so we don't end up in the newspaper.
Understand.
I don't look good behind bars. You can ask my wife.
Mm.
I don't think there was any intent. Ms. Clack, you have a question now.
I heard the word bidding, that there was no other person that bidded on that. That was my question. So, but earlier in the conversation, bid didn't come across in that conversation when we were discussing this.
And Ms. Clack, this is Danny. We did not get any other individuals, even though I said the word bidding, to give us a quote for this. We didn't have any other folks except for Graham. And it may be because they have done it in the past but we did not have anyone else that stepped up, after we made contacts, that said that, yes, we are willing to do this project. It was difficult to find it was difficult to find someone who had the capability to do this.
Okay, so bidding was just the wrong word. The experience as opposed to bidding.
Quote is probably a better word.
Right. Okay.
Yes, sir, please.
So did you, how did you contact other businesses about this project?
I think we had reached out to other general contractors, and they probably were phone calls rather than sending out emails. I mean, so again, it was last year. I'd have to go back and maybe look.
It looks
Look
like
for
the addendum 2 was signed on March 27th and sent, and the first one was sent on September 6th. Based on these emails.
September 6th, which was Labor Day. That would have been Labor Day.
Just going on this date here
What is
from
it?
2023. Yeah.
And that probably is a general date. I'm not sure that's exactly when it was signed, but that's when it was communicated. So.
September 6th was a Wednesday in September.
Labor Day would have been a Monday, so it was 2
Fourth.
days after Labor Day.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Mr. Church has his hand raised.
On this contract, Danny, if you could, next time it's provided to us, could you make sure that we get the signed copy? In our packets, we have an unsigned copy, so we're not even certain that the contract was actually signed and executed. Which really brings into an issue with the addendum 1 and 2 that also aren't dated. And they both have the same page number on both sides. It's just real problematic when stuff doesn't get dated and signed. Especially when we have a situation like this where we're over budget. It just seems kind of like a real show that doesn't need to happen like this. Think we'd have our stuff together a little bit better than this, truthfully, as a city.
Any more on this? Madam Clerk, where are we at on this issue now?
It's being discussed. I don't have a first or second.
Information.
Just
State your point.
so we don't need to do a roll call. Is that what you're saying? No roll call? Like, do they accept it or?
Yeah.
Do a roll call? Does anybody want to?
Just, Mayor, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Just before going further, could we just reiterate, Mr. Wallace, that in the future, we pay attention to the budget limits that we're signing for and accepting? This isn't the first time that we've discussed this with you coming forward to the council prior to the action happening and prior to the spending happening. It seems to be a reoccurrence that we're having issues with that happen over and over again. For the record, please present it to council so that we have the opportunity to make that decision based on our budget and the work that needs to be done. We understand you have a job to do, but there's no reason you should be coming, asking us, begging us for forgiveness rather than asking us for permission especially with such a large dollar amount for our citizens.
Hey, may I address the council?
Please do, sir.
Okay, so no street services are going to suffer as a result of this. And this is provided by the finance folks for the information of the council. Now, Mr. Church, you make a great point. I agree that I need to be conforming to the requirements, and that was a mistake I made, so I understand that. But understand that there was no malfeasance in this issue. At no time was anything done that was outside what I perceived as the border of my responsibilities. I do understand the issue about coming to the council with this, and I will modify my contract procedures. This contract was reviewed by our lawyers, and we did have that blessing initially, and the addendums do need to have the dates on them. So I acknowledge all of that, but just so that the council knows, these actions were made so that we could do things for the city. But I definitely acknowledge your points. I accept those, and I will modify the things I'm doing in the future.
Okay, thank you for that. And then one other thing to add. I know that the bid amount originally came in at 48,000, which is just under the dollar amount needed to go out to bid. Maybe next time when we get close to that, it might behoove us to send that out to bid. We might have had a different contractor that had a better price. And then on the flip side, maybe they would have stuck to their original contract price for the additional 17 poles that the city paid $1,400 more than the original contract price. It's just bad business. Thank you.
Mr. Keller, you through the chair.
Yeah, through the chair, I still am dumbfounded that $54,000 didn't come before the council. Who approved that? That's over your limit, that mayor, yourself, right? So
Like I said, I'm looking at the date, I wasn't available.
there is no date on the document.
I'm saying it says on August 7th, 2023, the service contract for the candy cane light
Correct. No, I understand that.
in the FMH hospital, so I couldn't have approved it, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, okay, then we need to somehow do an audit to see who used your signature.
We have things that have signature stamps. I don't know if that's what they use.
That's not a stamp. The stamp has City North Pole Mayor underneath it.
They gave it to me to sign after the fact. I don't know.
Well, I can see here in these emails that looks like Danny forwarded to me. These were sent in the past. These are old emails.
What do you mean by the past?
Well, so right here, this was sent September 6th, 2023.
Yeah, after August 7th, because I know it was back then.
So that's the first addendum
Right.
that they knew that it was going to be over cost. It was going to push it over $50,000. Happened 4 weeks after we actually approved the by consent, the budget item.
Mhm.
So then the second addendum was forwarded to Mrs. Clerk. Was it March?
March 7th date.
Okay, March 27th. Now, Mayor, we do know that you were out of office for a little bit of time at the beginning of the year, but you were back in office before that date.
I was back April the 4th, according to my doctor putting me back.
Okay, so April 4th? Okay, so we need to run down on who has access to your digital signature, because that is more detrimental than what we're talking about dollar-wise. That sure does look like digital signature to myself, unless someone came.
Can't tell because I can't see it.
So here's another thing. If that is a wet signature, Mr. Mayor, then you were doing work while you were supposed to not doing work.
So I was able to do a few hours of work, but not.
At what date? And this is where I'm gonna have to go to the HR.
Excuse me. You
Okay.
want me to tell you, or you gonna tell me?
No, I'm asking a
I
question.
would ask you to temper your,
Okay, I'll temper.
there was a time where they had me on 5 hours.
Correct.
Then there was a time they moved me up to 7, and then on April 4th, he says, now you can go back. You.
Okay.
Back in February. Not even 5.
Correct.
So, that was the silver. That sign.
Okay.
That was great. he put, graduated. I wasn't able to. And I had 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 or whatever. There could very well be that I would not still have been cognizant of everything I was doing because that's how.
Chandra has asked if you guys could lean in to the microphone.
So there's a possibility that, you know, this was an ingrown toenail and you know better because you're a doctor.
I
yeah.
know some things.
Yeah, so these things,
But-
it should be pretty clear that, you know, this wasn't something that I've ever experienced in my whole life. And he says 3 of these in 8 months is pretty bad. We're talking about concussive injury to the head.
And I understand
Mhm.
the traumatic experiences of the brain, but if we need to run down, if we don't get these answers, we need to run down when you were out of office, when you were clocked in, what the limits were for your part-time and then full-time release back to work, and when these were signed. Because if you don't have recollection of signing these, then number one, you did that without full mental capacity. Or number two, someone's been forging your signatures for a good chunk of change without the proper authority of the council.
I kind of doubt my last name is forged because of how the H goes up.
Or digital. If you go to addendum
Be
1,
digital.
it's the same, it's almost the exact same signature. So, and we can go into forensic science and all that stuff.
We can
It's
also
not-
do what we call in law frustration of purposes, what you're doing right now. Okay, and I would caution you to be careful about that.
No, I'm just.
Follow-up point of order,
Yeah,
real
point of
quick.
order, go ahead.
Danny, since you're so astute in keeping records, could you go find the original copies of this that are signed in wet ink as it appears to be shown on this copy so that we as a council can review that?
I don't have access to that right now. It's probably, it may be in the archives, it may be in my, I am not sure, but that is, on my honor, that is Mayor Welch's signature. And that was done when he was working legally while he was here. So I can go back and I can maybe produce those later in the week, but right now it would probably take me longer than you guys have tonight to find that. So, but that digital copy right there is based on Mayor Welch's signature. There is a stamp that is out there that is sometimes used, but that is not the stamp.
They didn't look
So,
like the
and
stamp.
again, if you want to,
signatures.
yeah, I mean, we can certainly check that out and I can see if I can provide that. But I swear that is Mayor Welch's signature on those 2 things because I witnessed those signatures. I put those in front of him and probably, it probably was when you were working under certain capacities,
Okay.
but we did put decisions before the mayor when he was working.
I understand that, but to circle back to Mr. Keller's point, it's still above the limit that should have been signed by anybody without council approval. And there's no dates on this document as to when it was signed. I understand that there's emails sent out, but in the future, once again,
Right.
let's do things correctly.
Because this is what the auditors will pull up is that this expenditure exceeds the mayor's authority without council action.
So I only have $24,000 of authority. That's all I have.
Mayor, if you know
May-
that, sir, then
may I
why
get-
did you sign that?
I can't answer that. I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know
May-
when it was or why I did.
I believe Chandra is trying to chime in.
I'm trying to say something. Chandra?
Okay, and with that being said, I'd like to inject that even though it's over the dollar amount and it's between staff meetings and council meetings, we can do an emergency meeting to have council look over whatever needs to be approved on the financial side. I'd like to go on the record for that.
Point of information.
Yes, state your point.
So with our original consented agenda item, the total was $48,000, correct? And that didn't have to come to council for approval, it did, correct? Okay. Lo and behold, add 24,000, which is mayor's maximum, and that's how you get 72. Is that coincidence?
Yes, I am sorry.
Was that, what do you mean? I missed your point. There was-
So $48,000 plus your limit that you didn't have to come to council, $24,000
Yeah,
equals
plus-
$72,000, which is maybe a understanding of why you didn't bring this in to council. but that's the same bid. Well, we can't have that. So.
Thank you for the point, but on the addendum number 2,
The original was.
we're still over the budget of allowing to sign. So
Lessons learned, I hopefully think.
Thank you. Where does that take us now, Madam Clerk?
Okay, that brings us to request to council, the SHSP grant, EMW 2023 SS. Danny, I'll let you take it away.
Okay. So the next item for the council is a request to approve the acceptance of a sole source bid for a physical security and a SCADA assessment, which that's the supervisory control and data acquisition system for our utilities. The city obtained a $35,000 grant award from the State Department of Homeland Security, and we applied for that based on the ask of a physical security assessment of our infrastructure, focusing especially on our utilities, but of the entire infrastructure, and also assessment of our SCADA systems, which is the communication systems for our utilities. We initially applied for this through the Homeland Security. We found that Respect Company actually was the best fit for this service. And then we went back to this State Department of Homeland Security and asked them if we could use that as a sole source procurement. They approved that, and that approval's in your packet. And what I'm asking for the council to do is to spend this $35,000 as a sole source contract for Respect to do this work. This is grant money. The city does not have a specific share that they have to pay, but this is a portion. Again, it's a very needed assessment, I think, for the vulnerability of our utilities. I think there are cities right now that have problems with their utilities with security, and I do think that this is something that potentially will feed a grant packet later on if we need to do infrastructure changes, again, to shore up any findings that they have. But I'll present this to the council for discussion and comment.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir, please.
So looking back on page 1 of the 2022 estimate, project scope, what items under the project scope is this grant fund going to be used for?
Thank you. The items for the project scope, if you're looking at page 1, where it says, if you're looking at the page 1 project scope, this third and fourth bullet are the items that are included in this $35,000. The first 2 have been shifted. It originally was in the packet, but that has been shifted to a cybersecurity grant application, which we actually also got, which we'll talk about during the next meeting. But the third and fourth bullet, the SCADA assessment, the physical security assessment, are what we are asking to use this grant money for.
Thank you for that clarification. All the question?
Madam Clerk, would you call the question?
Okay, on the request to council for the SHSP grant, does anybody want to first that? Accept it or?
Move to approve the grant award. I think this is what it's called. $35,000 to Respect. Is that how?
Second.
Okay.
Chandra,
and,
second.
Thank you, Chandra. I heard that. And then on that motion, Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mayor Welch.
Change.
And that brings us to council member comments.
Wait a minute.
Uh,
Emily, through the mayor?
Oh, sorry, Chandra, I couldn't understand what you said.
I was saying through the chair, if possible.
I think everybody didn't quite hear.
Through the chair, through the mayor, I have a question.
Yeah, state your question. I could barely understand you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. The question, Danny mentioned earlier that there were several Zoom meetings or grant meetings this week. And who's able to attend those?
This week?
I
Yes.
believe she's speaking about Danny's department head
Yeah.
discussion.
Yes, hey, Ms. Clack. Myself and Ms. Fogarty are both invited to those.
Okay. Would it be possible for council to attend?
That's certainly okay with me. Would you like, I can send you the links to those. The only thing is that the North Star Borough meeting is more, it's more of a staff level informal conversation. I haven't met those folks before. So I'd like to go in with those folks, but for the other two meetings, for the Protect Grant and for the congressionally directed spending grant, I can send you those links, Ms. Clack.
Are those the ones with Lisa? Lisa Murkowski's grant?
Yes, the congressionally directed spending that's the Lisa Murkowski grant, or Senator
That's
Murkowski
tomorrow.
grant.
That's tomorrow.
I think so,
Okay.
but I'll forward the invite to you, Ms. Clack.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, you don't have a problem with that, do you?
No, I don't.
All righty.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Clack. That brings us to council member comments. Mr. Skips,
I have nothing.
Mr. Jacobson,
No comment.
Mr. Williams.
I normally say something, but the only thing I'm gonna say is, I think we need to be more, follow the code for us. So we don't get in trouble with the auditors. Cause they will pick things out and come after us, not come after us, but
Yeah,
make sure well, okay.
come after.
We have to do that. And also when we do that, when, for bids and stuff, we gotta follow the rules for everybody across the board. Just cause I like him, I'm gonna give something to him. No, that ain't gonna work. We gotta be fair across the board to everybody. Otherwise, we will have problems. And treat people the way you want to treat them. The way you want to be treated. That's what I meant. That's all I got to say, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Church.
I would like to thank you, Madam Clerk, for keeping us steady in the rules, knowing exactly what's going on. And when we step out of line, thank you for correcting us and keeping us on track. I do appreciate that. Thank you for doing your job wonderfully and making that happen. I'd also like to thank the North Pole Middle School students for painting that beautiful mural across from the senior center. It is absolutely wonderful. So thank you for each and every one of you that had a part in that. It definitely did beautify our city. I love driving by it every morning, and it makes me smile every time I do. So thank you for that. No more.
Mr. Keller.
Just enjoy the weather and be safe. There's a lot of kids out there. A lot of good things to do, but just keep an eye out.
And Ms. Clack.
Be safe. Everybody have a nice week. And it'd be nice that somebody can take a picture of that mural and put it on our Facebook page.
It is a beautiful mural, and I will do that. Mayor Welch?
Yes, I have a letter that came from the governor, and it's in reference to Department of Transportation Public Facilities to remind us, anyone running for office, excuse me? Oh, yeah. Anyone running for, I can't get used to that. Anyone running for office that where you can place your signs on the highway. So it's going back and reiterating it. Madam Clerk, I'll send that to you so you could put that on our Facebook page or somewhere where we can access it. Anyone who's running for office to know where you can and where you cannot place signs on the side of the highway. That came through the governor's office to us. So just received it today. So with that, I'll say that the Governor Sustainability Conference was quite robust. There were more people participating at this year than in 22, the first year they had it, more than last year. And I did ride the escalator again, except I didn't fall off it this time, but there wasn't anybody running up and trying to blockade somebody. So that was a good thing. I got to re-meet the security people that were there last year. So that was kind of fun to get back up on the escalator ride. But in reference to what I sensed from Golden Valley Electric, they are going to need energy bad. And we are in a position, if we do it, we not meaning necessarily the city, but the whole consortium of providing them 18 megawatts of power. And they're going to need that at a bare minimum. They currently provide about 60 out here. So 18 megawatts, that gives them the possibility of taking Healy 2 offline. Healy 2 coal-fired. So we replace that with gas, but what we get out of it is a chance to make some revenue, but I don't know how much yet. But to make, because we don't know what IGU will sell us natural gas for to generate the electricity, but we could be making some revenue for selling hot water, using it ourselves too, sell it to ourselves, but we could sell it to the homes in Brookside Park is where I'm going with that. And it was cheaper than they could have oil or gas by itself. So we'll know something. We won't know it Thursday night. Those people that want to enter into that will scope out what they want, and then they'll start from there and craft some kind of power purchase agreement. That's one of the things that we know that the wonderful folks from Golden Valley are going to have to commit to. And we have a very good gift to us from Marathon Oil. If anyone's been watching what's happening, Marathon Oil is now owned by ConocoPhillips within the last week. And if anyone's watching, Chevron now owns Hess. So things are changing right there under our noses. So how natural gas is going to figure out this, I don't know. None of us know. It is a whole new dynamic. So with that, Madam Clerk, I'll end my comments and ask for someone to call adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. We are adjourned at
43.
8:43.
Thank you. Magic time. This is-
There's
a what?
Will you be attending the Thursday?
Oh, it's already.
Already?
Is it watered?
Yeah, actually, water.
Self-watered.